Welcome to 3 Minute Real Estate. I'm Richard Berry, broker associate with the Ciscos Group Realtors in Overland Park, Kansas. When you see a home on some of the major websites, such as Realtor.com, you might assume that the agent that appears with the home is the listing agent. While that's a reasonable assumption, it's generally not correct. Still, many folks want to talk to the listing agent. They're often hoping that the listing agent may have insight into the seller's motivations or have insight about the home, or maybe they could get a discount on the home by going direct to the listing agent. While that's understandable, it doesn't hold up to reality. Why? There are three primary forms of agency used on a day-to-day basis: the listing or seller's agent, the selling or buyer's agent, and the transaction broker. Let's look at each. The listing agent. By law, his or her first loyalty is to the seller. He or she has signed a contract making them the listing agent. This creates an obligation for the agent. He or she has a fiduciary duty, which means he owes loyalty, confidentiality, and a legal obligation to act in the seller's interests, even over the realtor's own interest. To anyone else, the realtor has three basic obligations: to be fair, to be honest, and to be accurate. The realtor by law must disclose any material defects he may know about the home, though if problems arise, it's hard to prove that the realtor knew. Practically, an example of what this means is that the listing agent may have an idea of the seller's lowest price, but the buyer will not be told this. On the other hand, if the buyer reveals his highest price to the seller's agent, the agent has an obligation to tell the seller. It also means that the listing agent may know the details of other offers but will not reveal that to the buyer. He may know, for example, that the seller is desperate to get the cash out. The buyer would not normally know this. A buyer's agent is largely the same as a listing agent, with the parties reversed. He or she has signed a contract to be a buyer's agent. He or she owes fiduciary duty to the buyer, and he or she must be fair, honest, and accurate to the seller. Just like a listing agent, a buyer's agent is legally obligated to put the buyer's interests first, even over his or her own. A transaction broker represents neither party. He or she is there to facilitate the transaction. Their duty is to be fair, honest, and accurate to both sides, and to favor neither. If a listing agent wants to help both sides on a transaction, he can transition to a transaction broker with the permission of the seller. If you haven't signed an agreement with an agent, this is the role he or she legally has. So what does this mean to you? It means you should have an agent under a signed agreement to represent you. I've covered how to find a good agent in previous videos. If you're a buyer, a buyer's agent will represent your interests over anyone else's. If you're a seller, the same applies for a listing agent. Thanks for joining me on our channel, 3 Minute Real Estate. If you need a realtor or have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please reach out or leave comments below. See you next time.